So we're making dal khichdi. Now that is so amazing. Oh my gosh, it's so good, yay. No, I'm gonna stop now. In terms of preparation for khichdi, there is a little bit just in advance. So what I've done is I've pre-soaked a little bit of basmati and mung dal. The ratios are really easy with this dish. Essentially, it's however much rice you use, half the amount of mung dal again. It only really needs to be soaked for 30 minutes. So mung dal is a really soft lentil. It doesn't require a lot of soaking and it doesn't require a lot of cooking. When it's cooked, its structural capacity is quite light, so it won't hold its form and it will have a starchier output. So it will release a little more starch than, say, like a chana dal or a yellow split pea. It's used in this function because we don't want a whole heap of structure in dal khichdi. It's really important that the dish doesn't have too many hard edges. The spicing is also really light. Masala is like haldi, so turmeric powder, a bit of salt, a bit of zira or cumin seed, and that's basically it. So we are going to use a pressure cooker. It can just be quite a small one. I do like cooking khichdi in a pressure cooker rather than a pot. There's a lot of ease texturally around this dish, and the pressure cooker allows for that to happen without breaking it down completely. So when you're choosing a pressure cooker, the size does matter because you don't want to have too much produce in too small a volume or too little produce in too large a volume, because it does have an impact on the end result. You want your pressure cooker essentially to be kind of just below half filled with whatever produce you're cooking in order to maximise the steam cooking element of the pressure cooker itself. So this was a katori of rice, which is like a little less than a cup, and a half of the mung dal. Whatever vessel you use to measure your rice and your dal, use to measure your water, because that gives you like an even ratio. Generally, you'd use 2 cups of water to 1 cup of rice. So you can see it just all goes in together, and you can see how it's not climbing up the pot too much. 2 cups. Okay, now all the spice is going to go in here at once, and then we're just going to really softly cook it. So salt is important because there's not a lot in here, and so you want the flavour to be really well communicated. Whatever messaging we're putting into this dish, and the messaging of this spice in khichdi is really about nurture and love and softness. Someone else has got a pressure cooker going over the back fence. So without enough salt in there to communicate what's going on, you actually won't taste what's there. So dal's always, it's an art form to salt. So I'm going to say that's like a large teaspoon. I'm going to do 1.5 teaspoons of salt, and then a teaspoon of zira or cumin seed, and then haldi. We're going to use like 1/3 teaspoon. You don't need too much. This will provide a little bit more structure as well for the masala to carry. So haldi or turmeric, any kind of bitter spice, has the capacity to create a frame for masala, and so it enables the dish to sort of have its shape, shape is good in food. So I'm just going to close this up as is, as you can see, and then put it on the pressure cooker to jet like, I'm going to say once or twice, and then just turn it down for a little cook for a few minutes. If you can't see what's going on, you're better off cooking a little bit under. So in terms of a tip for using pressure cookers in this sort of cook, where if you take this too far, it's going to lose its inherent quality of beauty, because it's going to either collapse in on itself and you won't taste anything, or it's going to stick to the bottom of the pressure cooker itself and burn. So neither of those two options are desirable. less is better than more, and then you can just depressurize the pot, have a little look inside. If it's not quite ready yet, just put it back on for another minute or two. Like, that's a totally fine thing to do. Okay, now this is going to take a minute. In fact, I might put it on a slightly stronger jet just to expedite the process, which it won't take a minute. Just to take you through what dal khichdi is essentially a really softly cooked rice dish, cooked simultaneously with, in this case, mung dal. That's used as a dish primarily either in the hotter months when you need to eat something quite light, or for us as kids, it was a post-illness recovery food. So it was something to eat if you'd had a tummy bug, or if you'd had a bad flu, or if you were just feeling a bit low. The benefit of dal khichdi is seen to be its digestive quality, sort of rebalancing of your gut and your physical and emotional sensibilities as well. Now I can start to smell it. So the thing about a pressure cooker is that you can smell it. The rice starts to get a sort of a nutty aroma, and the dal, it's like a mix of like popcorn and chicken skin or something. I don't know, it's strange, but it's beautiful. That's about done. Pressure cookers are tricky because by the time you smell burn, it's too far. So you always want to make sure you pull them off before you can smell anything catching. And I am going to let it release for a few minutes just on its own, because this release process will enable some of the excess liquid, if there is any in the pressure cooker, to dry out a little bit. The steam will continue, like that evaporation of the liquid, which is really important. And a tip for pressure cooking, and I always say this, there's always an element of ease that comes into the food when you let the steam resettle and the pressure cooker release of its own accord, because there's a lot of aroma in that steam, and if you force release it, the aroma escapes. But really what you want to happen is you want all of that steam and aroma to settle back down into the dish and to imbue that food, whatever you're cooking, with the inherent aromatic quality that's held in that steam. It's like only a few minutes extra on top of what you've already cooked, and it's well worth the difference. All right, so gave it a few minutes. Oh yeah, there you go. That's pretty perfect. I always get nervous, like even all these years after cooking it, it still makes me really nervous that it's not gonna be right. Okay, it's a little rice spoon. So you can see how the grains are like, they're separated, they're long, I will stir the spice through in a minute, but they're sitting upright. There's no like excess liquid, but it's also not burnt and stuck to the bottom. Yeah, that's perfect. So everything is so soft. I'm actually gonna put this in a glass bowl because I want you to be able to see what I'm talking about when I try it. Thank you. All right. So just in serving, oh my gosh, it's so good, yay! It's just one of those dishes that is so beautiful when it's done well, and it's so easy to go wrong because there's really nothing to it. The less there is to do in a dish, in some ways the harder it is to get it right. Now what I want you to notice, other than that beautiful colour and the incredible length of the rice grains, is see how the cumin seed is really, it's translucent, it's soft. Like when you cook it, temper it through masala, through fat, it does not have that appearance. It can be a difficult spice to digest, even though it is used as a digestive spice. But with that water, because it's cooked in water, essentially it's like it's all swelled up and softened. So all the spice in this dish has united on that same cause, which is that of being soft on the system. Now that is so amazing. There is different styles of khichdi, and you'll find a lot of recipes for things with vegetables, and that becomes more like a meal in and of itself, maybe with spinach or carrot and a bit more liquid. And I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm just saying that that's never how I make it. I just love this, the simplicity. Now it is traditionally served with yogurt, so I am going to taste it with the last little bit of Shivani's dahi. So this like serving suggestion really for me is always just a little bit of fresh curd, and like this, like the whey too, because this has a lot of the probiotics in it. So the smell is like fragrant and soft and a little bit floral in the way that rice can be. Oh, that's so yummy. The salt's really beautiful in it, and it needs it because otherwise what you're left with is sort of a soft texture, and the salt helps to input the appearance of structure. So it's really important that it's beautifully done. It's a very difficult sensation to describe, but when you eat food like this, it's just like a seamless experience of eating. It's like when the outside temperature matches your skin temperature, and you can almost feel the lack of division between you and where you stand. That's what this rice feels like as you're consuming it. I guess it's like the Indian chicken soup. I'm gonna stop now. It's good.